Good evening, folks. Hope you all are doing well. We are coming here live from Observer Ranch. Let's get things started off in the chat the correct way. Denver sucks, a million Amelias, 07s, and of course, Ave Christus Rex, also acceptable. Let's not waste any time. Let's go to tonight's schedule. As always, we are going to be doing a solar update. After that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things to cover in the science update. After that, we are going to be talking about the timelines for the disaster. There appear to be several, I'm just going to leave it at that, several new individuals here at the channel. So we're going to be talking about that. Then we are going to be popping back over to see if there are any super chats, see if you guys have any questions or comments you want everybody to see. Let's not waste any more time. Let me come over here and we will jump right into the solar update. You know what, let's go ahead and refresh everything. So the number one thing to look at is down here in this panel. So the big jump you see is the proton storm that we reported on this morning. And you can see it's been coming down all day, pretty much as expected. But it is starting to rise back up the last few hours. Why is that? We're going to let the coronagraph from Soho run here. And even though that was a titanic eruption, it's this one you see leaving on the south right there. Boy, that was a big one earlier. I guess technically that was last night for most of you watching, because like 90% of you are either in the United States, Canada, or somewhere on these longitudes. But not the big one, but this one that's coming out of the south right there. That one is one of the far side CMEs that dinged the interplanetary magnetic field streaming through the heliospheric current sheet. And it is re-amplifying the proton flux that you see down here in those last couple of hours. We do know that all of these eruptions are going off the far side right now. The sun, at least in the Earth-facing half, the Earth-facing heliographic longitudes, they're extremely quiet right now. We have these coronal holes that are passing through, and I'll even speed this up so that anything appears to be faster than it is. Not a ton going on. You can see down here, there is some activity. Here, I'll go ahead and I'll make that a little easier to see. We're going to be watching down here for this activity. Violent but short-lived snaps, confined, not really any associated flaring activity with it. We really do have a pretty quiet Earth-facing half of the sun. Let's take a look at what that eruption looked like on the Soho coronagraphs. So there's the one last night. Poof. Hello. And there's the one that's choppy. Last night, dang, that was a bad one last night. Holy cow. There's the one coming. There's frames missing there. Hold on. Let's see. Keep your eye right here. So you can see that's pretty continuous. That's a bigger jump than usual. Oh, 14 to 18. Almost 4 hours missing there. Well, it's a good thing we have multiple satellites up here watching. That is really all there is to do on the sun. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and, well, here. I want to point some, I guess I'll point it out here first. So this area does look like there is going to be something to analyze. in terms of sunspot activity. But when I last checked, which I admit was now about 5 hours ago, I admit it was like 5 hours ago that I last checked. It's been a busy day. I had to drive down to the ranch. Everybody's here chilling. Actually, the art of ecological design is literally wrapping up. It's the final activity, final 90 minutes. All right, here's the sunspot activity. Not much happening, although this is interesting right there. Is this new? Talking about this little circular area right here. I'm going to come back to that in a second. This stuff, it looks like it's in decay. There's not really a whole lot going on. We'll come down here a little more. Geez, that's actually brighter on this screen than mine. Maybe if there's more coming with it. And in terms of up here, this is where that bright thing was that I was trying to point out before. We can't really see much of anything there yet, although that looks like that's going to be a sunspot right there. We probably, if you're watching this a couple hours from now, I bet you get a much better view than we've got right here. Anyway, so this sunspot, by tomorrow morning, I do expect we'll be able to see that one. Now, I suppose it's time to talk about some science, and we're going to talk about two things on the sun. Now, first, let's go back in time and talk about what we already know. And here, let me go ahead and can we make you any bigger? There we go. Let's make you a little easier to read, I suppose. And okay, you got the author's title. Now, here's the actual words that can help you understand what this paper's about. Let me set the background for you. So we know that there is this cycle. We can see it here on Earth of this magnetic disaster being the primary thing. There is extra volcanic ash in these layers. There's way too many fossils in these layers. They are the nova level isotopes confined in these layers. The Los deposits suggest rapid, extreme climate change during these periods, dwarfing anything we've dealt with thus far in the last century or two. And we now, even though we don't have, geologic records going back for other planets, we can see that all the other planets and the sun are changing in the ways we would expect if what is happening to the Earth is a entire solar system kind of thing. And what we are noticing here on Earth is just the manifestation of it here on our planet. And then it being a cyclical thing as well. Throughout the solar system, we have focused mostly on the planets and more recently on the interplanetary space, which is also changing in the exact ways that we would expect. But the sun is, of course, the central engine. Its magnetic field, the heliosphere, was touched before any planet. I don't think it's a coincidence that Earth's magnetic pole shift really sped up in 1859, the same year as the Carrington event. And I'm not suggesting that the last super flare on the sun triggered it. I'm saying the same thing triggered both, and that was the arrival of the galactic current sheet carrying with it the galactic magnetic reversal. And through its impact on the heliosphere and everything along with it, through what we now know is the appropriate Rikitake physics model of this galactic interaction with the astrosphere of the sun, we should be looking more at the sun. And so up to here, we have had a couple of different notable things. We are noticing an overabundance of dust in the corona. But that one can't really be attributed to the sun because we see that extra dust throughout the solar system all the way out past Pluto. This was both Voyager and the New Horizons spacecraft. So confirmed that there is too much dust and it's throughout the solar system. And this is, of course, due to the galactic current sheet. But on the sun, in solar cycle 23, they noticed that the coronal magnetic fields were changing. And this was also concurrent with a chemistry change in the corona, the sun's atmosphere. The level of helium was rising. Now, the sunspot cycle of 11 years is supposed to somewhat modulate the amount of helium in the sun, but we were in excess of that, and it was sort of running away. And this was, of course, tied to the magnetic field changes on the sun. Now, what is this article about? The long-term temporal variations of the solar coronal rotation. Basically, in that same solar cycle 23 and leading into solar cycle 24. So this should be thought of as like the latter part of the first decade of the millennium. So like 2006, 2007, 2008, leading into maybe 2011-ish. So like that 5-year span. And that's interesting because that's the exact same time we got that super acceleration. And so I'm actually leaning more towards the 2006, 2007, 2008. You veteran observers who are at expert level know what I'm talking about. The Earth had a super acceleration. It is, by all evidence, the best hypothesis right now that this is the cause for Clown World. This is what spooked them. The sun, not only is that approximately the same time as its magnetic fields and its coronal chemistry started to change, but it had what they're describing as a rotational jitter. I'm sorry, what? A rotational jitter. Something happened. There was a freak-like glitch. And of course, they're hypothesizing and wondering, could this reflect the modern maximum decay? Because we have been in solar, modern maximum for a number of decades now. And we actually mentioned that this morning. We're going to come back to that here in just a second. But I think that the much better explanation for this is that it is part of the same thing that triggered an enhancement of what's happening here on the planet Earth. The timeline matches, and this is just chalk one more up for the sun. While we are here talking about the sun, we talked about this one this morning, the extreme value analysis of the solar green line corona. Essentially, the solar green line is an excellent corollary for solar, more extreme solar activity, more sunspots, flares, eruptions of plasma filaments, the prominences, etc. Apparently, for the last several sunspot cycles, we have been at the near 200-year maximum of what they model as the solar green line corona, which corroborates what we've said for many, many years, and the data has more than demonstrated that the 1900s basically tracking global warming even better than CO2, provided that you account for the 20 to 30-year lag into things like El Nino and into the oceans, etc., where that energy gets stored for a very long time. At the same time as all the sunspot data said that the sun was peaking in the modern grand maximum, at the same time as, weird things are starting to happen on the sun, and heliophysicists are saying, could this be the end of the solar grand maximum? And, well, the answer is no. And real quick, I'm going to plug in my computer so that we don't run out of battery here. I think that is one of the best ideas I've had in a minute. But so here we are saying that for the last several sunspot cycles, the solar green line has basically been at a 200-year maximum, confirming this modern grand maximum. And as much as anything we have seen before, this is a direct, a better piece of evidence than sunspots that what we have seen over the last 100 to 150 years in terms of the terrestrial atmosphere is more a function of the grand solar maximum plus the weakening of Earth's magnetic field than it is some fraction of a fraction of atmospheric chemistry. While we are off-world, this one, the more I think about this, honestly, the more I think about this, the more I am leaning towards This being part of the whole Mars is awakening. And I suppose I have to settle back and take us back in time once again for a bit of background. So, as part of the solar system shift, one could argue that Mars is in the running for the most changing planet. Its climate change was dwarfing Earth's. When they put the InSight lander down there, within days it registered what every scientist thought was the maximum possible seismic event, maximum possible quake size on the red planet. And then month after month after month, the quakes kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm sitting here saying, guys, something's happening inside of Mars. Mars is literally reacting, changing. And given the fact that we have over 100 papers on how the sun's interaction with the Earth's magnetic field and this energy dump into the planetary capacitor is tied to earthquake activity, why would it be any different on Mars? Something is happening. Fast forward a few months later, all of a sudden, Mars' mantle isn't dead after all. It's not a dead planet. The mantle is alive. It's active. There's active plumes in Mars. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I have had so much fun watching the scientists trying to explain away how they got Mars wrong for so long, decade after decade, thinking it was a dead planet. And the answer is they didn't get it wrong. Mars is waking up, as I said before, and this is just more evidence of it. However, if that were to be the case, you would also have to see a chemical reaction, something in the soil. If the temperatures are changing like that, if the magnetism is changing like that, if the electrodynamics of Mars are changing like that, you would begin to see essentially a slow version of what happened in that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, where basically like the planetary atmosphere of Mars is released in like a couple of minutes, you know? No, not going to be like that. But you would need to start to see the planet waking up in all the ways, including the unlocking of the frozen gases and other things like that. The unlocking of the of the stuff from the soil and the cracks in the Martian crust, etc. You know what happened if you just took Earth's atmosphere away immediately? Would we just be an empty ball of rock? No, the outgassing from the planet would be outrageous. You would expect to see that start to happening on Mars. And this shouldn't happen on Mars. Now we're finally back to this article. I'm sorry, that took a minute, didn't it? Now we're finally back to this article. And what they're talking about here, the Zwan-Wolf effect, this shouldn't be possible with this tenuous of an atmosphere-ionosphere system at Mars. Induced field by the solar wind or not. It's not supposed to be doing this. I mean, the first thing that pops into my head is you would need to enhance Mars's atmosphere a little bit if you wanted to do this. And then I sit back and I go, oh, crap. That's literally what happened. I'm reading this and I don't even get through that first paragraph. Here, I want to make sure you can read this too. If any of you understand the physics here, I don't even get through this paragraph and I'm sitting here like, I don't think so. You guys are full of shit. I mean, you would need to have like double the atmosphere on Mars. Like, oh gosh. What is it I'm telling everybody all the time about Mars? That Mars is waking up. Okay. Yeah. I had a moment there. It took a minute to register. It might be a tumor. I don't know. It's possible. Who can say such things? Who can say such things? Anyway, we are going to wrap up our space talk here. You know what's interesting? This is the same kind of thing. I'm getting like deja vu right now. We're not done yet. So, with this whole thing with Mars where somebody could be like, okay, Ben, well, if that was the case, then you would expect some atmospheric enhancement. Wait, when are we going to see some evidence that there's atmospheric enhancement on Mars? And then this comes out. I went through this exact same thing. 2021, when professors started to catch wind of the micronova stuff and the galactic current sheet. And the first two people, they were doing this, okay, Mr. Smarty Pants thing. They were like, you've got some interesting evidence from the sun all the way out to Pluto. And Bepi Colombo is going to give you an eye on Mercury in a couple of years. But if it's this galactic current sheet, wouldn't you need to be seeing extra dust and extra energetic neutral atoms, not to mention interstellar pickup ions as well? And of course, literally in 2021 through 2023, 2020, beginning of 2024, there was what, like 8 different articles: enhanced energetic neutral atoms, enhanced interstellar pickup ions, excess of interstellar pickup ions detected, and then the too much dust from the solar corona all the way out past Pluto. It was kind of one of those, hey, Mr. Smarty Pants, if you're anywhere close to correct, we would need to see, oh, this thing that's happening right now. Just like we got on Mars right here. I guess I got to point the other way because we're mirrored here at the ranch, and I never remember that. Anyway, we're now done with our space discussion for the science updates. And before we come to the Earth, guys, I got to thank goldobservers.com. They were the official sponsor of the 2 films this year. Otherwise, we would have had to put them on Netflix or Hulu or something. Glad we didn't have to do that, and they're free to watch here on YouTube. They are supporting people that I can tell you are important to a lot of you. Things are hard out here right now, and they're really supporting a lot of people who you would describe as telling the truth, risking themselves to, share things that need to be shared. Not to mention that their game is gold and silver, goldobservers.com. Been a store of value forever, been really good recently. In the descent we all know is coming, gold and silver moonshot, and in the aftermath, gold is the perfect reflector of electromagnetic radiation, and silver releases antimicrobial ions upon contact with ionic fluid, like blood, as in antimicrobial in a cut or a scrape, something like that. Or drop it in a water container, and the water won't go bad as fast. It'll stay drinkable, stay potable. The bacteria won't grow because of the silver. Anyway, thank you very much, goldobservers.com. Now, did any of you guys see this shit? Catastrophe at the Sydney drone show. And get this. Tell me somebody heard the explanation they're giving right now. A sudden and unexpected change in the radio frequency environment. The kind of power that would be required for somebody to be doing that with a device, outrageous. The notion that a government would use satellite technology on a drone show, preposterous. Why? This is the first one that is made the news, but it is not the first time this has happened. There's footage I saw of one of these events going exactly like this out of China. And I've heard stories of another one. I think it was Brazil. And it was like near the coast. It was like as close as a human being can get on land to the South Atlantic anomaly. It was like southern Brazil on the coast. Of course, what I'm going for here is, apart from solar panels, it's hard for me to imagine a more vulnerable piece of technology than a drone, especially with the different voltage potential it's going through as it moves up and down. If you don't know anything about this, in the atmosphere, there's incredible differences in voltage potential as you go up. Like when you hear them, you start to think to yourself, that can't be right. It is, it's just a relatively low amperage. However, for these drones and some of the more sensitive aspects of them, too rapid of a localized magnetic field change would be pretty devastating. And with a weakening magnetic field, this many drones in one location could actually screw with the local magnetic fields themselves, exacerbating the problem. Anyway, I thought this was interesting. I'm thrilled that this is like big news. Like nobody saw this one out of China. Like it was frustrating, and there's no video evidence out of the one in Brazil. There's just people talking about it. This was cool, and I think this isn't like a scientific or one of my mathematical predictions, which we're going to be doing in the timeline section later, but I would guess there's a good chance we could see more stuff like this happening, if I had to guess. Anyway, I'm going to go back to being small again because we have science to do, don't we? Oh, I can make you a little bigger. So this was an important one. What is the dead horse that we've been beating here for a couple of years? Too small of solar activity is creating too much of a geomagnetic storm effect here on Earth. And then on top of that, the auroras that we're seeing are too big even for the geomagnetic storm rating, let alone the solar flare or solar wind that is actually impacting the planet. Forget about it. I've been a broken record on that since March of 2023. It's been over 3 years. Here is another excellent example. And this is how an academic would do it, because what they're really talking about is the reason why this was so impressive was it didn't quite break records, but the fact was there really was not a significant solar storm at the time. This was that story from a couple days ago when it's not an extreme geomagnetic storm. Something just happened and the plasma just broke through and broke out of the auroral, the normal or expected auroral oval. Another outstanding example. And this is reporting 4 separate times it happened in 2024, none of which being the 2 big auroral outbursts of that year in May and October. This was June, August, September, and November. And these are the faint red auroras, but they were using special cameras to see it. And they're noticing, hey, wait a minute, like these things are now showing up really regularly and sometimes with solar storms, and it doesn't make any sense. If you read this, you know, they're academics. They're not going to be sensational. They're not going to be calling anybody or anything out. But you got to realize this is how an academic would write this paper if you want to come read it. It's fantastic. And it is yet another example. And what it shows is, you know, on my list of these crazy aurora events in 2024, I've got 2. I've got May and October. Are you telling me I now have 6? I now have 4 more? Because they're looking in a wavelength our eyes don't see? Or that even our cell phones aren't picking up like they are the pretty pinks and greens? And because they're looking all the time, even when a pole shift advisor like me doesn't think there's going to be auroras, they're still spotting them. Whew. Let's keep going. So this drives me absolutely bananas. First of all, we're going to bring this out, okay? And we've got to get big here for a moment. We're going to go back up here. Don't worry, I'm coming back, okay? So, South Atlantic anomaly. The weakest part of Earth's magnetic field is there. It is actually moving on to South America right now. It's shifting slightly west. Now, their explanation for the South Atlantic anomaly is something is changing at Earth's core mantle boundary that is causing a weak spot right there. They have absolutely no clue what is happening at the core mantle boundary. I'm not saying they're not educated guesses, but the toolbox is incomplete and the guesses are wrong. Here's the real answer for why the South Atlantic anomaly is right there. So, the South Magnetic Pole is coming up to about right there, and it is going that way. Okay? The North Magnetic Pole, it is coming out of Canada. Sorry, this is hard to do. Coming out of Canada and going across towards Russia, and it is on a collision course for the same point. That was cool. I actually had these X'd, this cross mark, basically right where the collision course. North Pole coming over the top, South Magnetic Pole is coming up. And it just so happens that since they're both going towards that same point, this spot here in the South Atlantic, it's the exact opposite spot in the world from where they're heading towards. It's the spot in the world where the two magnetic power nodes are moving away from. That's why it's there. And so when we come back to here, and I come down, and we're just going to go ahead and go to the actual video access page. And they tell us that there's something happening in the core flows here. No, that's incorrect. Now, what we have to ask is, what did they actually see up in the magnetic field in space that made them think this was happening in the core? And specifically, this westward flow, sort of going that way, it shifts and it'll start to come back to the east, to the right. There it goes. Now, this is just a model. They haven't detected anything like this. In fact, this is perpendicular to what they would be detecting out in space. Because think about the right-hand rule of electromagnetism. And so if they were seeing a westward flow, or I guess there we go, we're mirrored. If they were seeing a westward flow and then an eastward flow, it would mean they were seeing south, and then, it would mean that the north-south component actually reversed. And so whether or not you go with their mainstream explanation or you go with, hey, I'm going to stick with the observations you made in space and not presume that they tell you what's happening at the core of the planet, this would seem to suggest that Earth's magnetic poles have moved enough to significantly impact the way that Earth's magnetic field is behaving there. Now, this is not entirely unprecedented. And let me see if I can quickly find this. What do I need to use? Oh, this is actually going to work. This could work. Oh, goody. Goody gumdrops. I don't know whose website I'm going to right now. That's not what was advertised. This is the one. So you see this green line over here? This is exactly what I knew happened. So this area, are you kidding me? This area, whew. So this up here, this is what they've got as the North Magnetic Pole as of 2020. Here's the South. I can tell you the South has moved up to about here, and the North is actually cooked. It's almost, getting to Siberia now. As this is happening, this green line, which was probably over here in 2020, is shifting this way. It's being pulled this way with Earth's magnetic North Pole, okay? When people talk about the breakdown of the dipole and the eruption or the emergence of the quadrupole and even octopole states, it is the strengthening of the nodes that accompany the North Magnetic Pole, and they are dragged along with it. As they are dragged along, this green line, and what all the green lines are separation points between where the flows go one way and where the flows go another way. And so we can see here that Earth's magnetic North Pole, as it would be dragging this blue node right here, as it would be dragging this blue node would have been down here before, or maybe even over here, but this green line, it would be shifted this way. And as the North is dragging it this way, this green line, or the localized magnetic reversal flow point, swept directly past it. And as you can see, this is not on an east-west vector. It's not really perfectly on a north-south vector either, but as you can see, this is a lot more in the north, like it would be a change in the north flow versus the south flow. And so that made them think that it was a change in the east-west component at the core mantle boundary. Again, just as with the South Atlantic anomaly, this, where is it? Oh, we've got to go back now, don't we? Oh, there's little children. Do you hear the little children? It happens at the ranch. This, just like the South Atlantic anomaly, doesn't have a darn thing to do with what's going on at the core mantle boundary. I just showed you on this thing that, hey, wait a minute, it's just a coincidence that, the two strongest magnetic points on the planet are at the magnetic poles, and it bleeds lower and lower away from them. And if the magnetic poles are both moving away from one spot, you'd expect it to be the weak spot on the planet. That's an interesting coincidence. Well, it just so happens that since we know exactly how the magnetic fields are moving, and we know exactly how the sidecar quadrupole emergences are developing and being dragged along with it, and since you could see with your own eyes that as it is being dragged along, that green line separating the north and south flows would pass right by it, and that's what they saw up in space. That tells you this guess they have about an east-west core flow change, educated though it may be, it's wrong. Just like the South Atlantic anomaly, what we are actually seeing is an effect of the movement of the magnetic poles, the magnetic pole shift, the geomagnetic excursion. We all good? Everybody good on that? So we are back here, and we're going to talk a little bit about timelines because they're challenging. They really are. The extrapolation of the changes to Earth's magnetic field is possibly the easiest part of it, the most magnanimous aspect of it, which all the evidence says should come with the solar micronova. It should basically just be one biblical kind of day kind of thing. That's not coming until the 2040s. We should be experiencing some very difficult challenges way before that. Because as Earth's magnetic field weakens, we are already seeing what the sun is doing to this planet and how the auroras are reacting, how the magnetic field is reacting. It's not going to be long before something fairly normal from the sun can take out power. We're technically in the danger zone for another solar super flare. God forbid we get something like that. But we're talking about losing the global grids, losing almost all technology, basically going back to the pre-industrial age in the once great electrified skeleton of our society. And that's going to happen, question mark. For all I know, this clown world could march all the way up to almost when Earth's magnetic field flips. What if the sun goes to sleep? What if we descend into sunspot minimum here and the sun doesn't wake back up? What if we get another grand solar minimum? The magnetic power doesn't suggest that's what's happening, but it's happened before, and unexpected things have happened before. Or one of these sunspots that is coming around right now could pop something at us tomorrow, and we'll have 5 or 6 hours to grab our stuff and get where we're going to be forever. I just don't know. Or maybe at some point in between that, somebody starts dropping nukes on the planet. Or maybe Campy Flegree and Taupo both go off. Maybe the Beaufort Gyre releases the exact same year. Maybe it's a minor solar flare and it's only a half solar EMP kill shot event, but they've implemented CBDCs and it blanks everybody back to zero. We have clown world that we're in right now, but we also have this finish line where this age of Earth comes to an end and we have to start the next one. But what happens between now and then? Holy cow. I don't know. Does this clown world where it's like, okay, like the world's still spinning, like I can still go to the store, like not everything makes zero sense yet, although we're inching closer to that. Or for all we know, by the end of the year, there's going to be a major solar event that cooks half the planet's power grids. And literally the entire world is like, hey, there's 2 billion people starving to death. We need to mobilize the planet for our species, kind of thing. Or maybe they get sick of everybody waking up to what's going on and starting to ask questions about this or that or data centers. And so they pull a fake alien invasion. Who knows what's going to happen in this nonsense lunacy of a planet that we're living on right now. But what I can tell you is whatever happens, natural or otherwise, it is being driven by this downward spiral that the entire solar system is on right now. And, it's not evil. It's just an energetic shift. And it's going to be a bumpy ride going from one side to the other. I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the other side of things, provided you can get there. Who knows how long we're going to have to be living in pre-industrial society, or maybe war-torn society or something of that nature before this event that we're talking about occurs. And then we're basically back to the Stone Age and building from there. But anyway, that is Professor Mogzalot's soliloquy for the day. For those of you who don't know, everything is at suspiciousobservers.org. Everything you need. If you somehow have not seen the Earth disaster cycle, I don't know how you managed to last 45 minutes into this video without being like, what is this guy talking about? This is my video version of a thesis. I kind of figured I would be in like several battles here 4 months after this video came out about the science and this and that. Instead, the list of professors and even NASA scientists on my inbox just keeps growing and growing in a friendly way. I don't know. Maybe eventually somebody will try to debunk this, but then again, I wouldn't want to climb Mount Everest naked either. Below that, Observer Ranch, easy way to book your site. Our upcoming live events that are not at the ranch, State of the Earth Tour, Master the Disaster and Phoenix Rising. If you want to get my textbook as well, that is there. This might be coming back, but it's not ready yet. And of course, below that, Solar Killshot Action Network. This is the only way to meet observers who are trying to create survival networks online. Unless you want to put your phone number and your email in a YouTube comment, that's the only place to do it, solarkillshot.org. Our e-magazine, it's the only publication that is tracking the Earth disaster cycle. And by the way, the Pole Shift Community Bulletin update is coming out in like 2 or 3 days. And then here, well, with these three, Heaven's Harvest, Refuge Medical, and this one I can't say on YouTube, use the promo code SOLAR when you check out, 10% off. And if anybody has been to spaceweathernews.com today, I'm sorry that this one took a while. I got really busy and Adrian got really busy, and then we both forgot. But yeah, spaceweathernews.com is now ready to roll. So we have the daily morning update, last 24 hours on our star. These are nice. I think these are just the pictures though. Yeah, I've got to make it so it pulls up the actual video, but we're working on it. Okay. And we should be able to have access to almost all of them here. This is pretty. Yeah, you did get them all on here. Oh, not that one. The mixed ones aren't on there. As you can see, we still have tooling to do. But anyway, all of the data is on here. All the stuff you remember from Space Weather News. And then up at the top, this is the menu. And this is basically all the stuff that was on suspiciousobservers.org. So, guys, it's the year of the prepper. I can assure you, if you don't do something, and by something, I mean make moves here, here, or here, I can promise you that some of the stuff that you're going to hear next year is going to feel like we are leaving you behind. And you won't be wrong. Anyway, you know, I really didn't think that this part of the show was going to take like 45 minutes. But that's where we are. That's where we are. It's happening. It happened already. It's a thing. All right. Super chats. Hi, Ben. I'm in my 69th year. Besides prepping my kids and grandkids, how seriously should I take the upcoming EDC? I'll be in my late 80s or early 90s. I would say exceptionally seriously. You know, if you're one of these individuals who is worried that you're going to die beforehand, there's no reason you shouldn't be using the peptides and other things like that, really. Have you heard anybody say anybody alive in 10 years has the option to be alive in 100? I wouldn't rule that out. Keep your chin up, Douglas. Aussie with eyes open says, love your work, Ben. Forgive me if this is a silly question. Is CERN's main bending electromagnets producing peak magnetic fields of 8.3 Teslas apart in all this too? No, it's not. They produce powerful magnetic fields that are approximately the size of a mosquito when its wings are outstretched. The magnetism can be pretty powerful while you're in the building, but if you're walking around the campus, most of the areas you can't detect that anything's going on. You would have no idea if they were on or off. It's kind of like, look, a refrigerator magnet is twice as powerful as the Earth's magnetic field at the refrigerator magnet. You know, if you could measure what magnetism is coming from where at the refrigerator magnet, there'd be twice as much coming from that magnet as Earth's magnetic field. Does that mean that it's powerful enough to affect Earth's magnetic field, or it's stronger than the whole Earth? No. It's, if you can think of scale like that with the refrigerator magnet, is CERN a little bigger than a fridge magnet? Oh yeah. But at the end of the day, Earth is Earth. Joe Bob, appreciate it. Uh-oh, where'd you go? Love your work, Ben. Oh, wait, is that a repeater? It's a repeater. Oh, I'm sorry. I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. With the Beaufort, that's a T at the end of that one. Gyre and AMOC on the point of collapse, and the day after tomorrow playing out maybe as quick as a year. What would that do with your safe height location if extra seawater is tied up in ice? I don't really think it changes things that much. I really just don't think it changes things all that much. I would still use the GeoScore, but not enough can happen in this short a time. Bush Ninja, that is a cute looking teal pair. Thank you for that. Cross Threaded 13, you're on vacay most of the time we are visiting the ranch. Dude, are you? You're not alone, bro. Only few have the eyes to see for whatever reason. You are reaching the ones God wants you to. Cross Threaded 13, I can tell you must have posted this a while ago, but Cross Threaded 13, I want you to hear me right now. The closest I ever come to a vacation is when I am here at the ranch. And I am surrounded by people who, for reasons I can't fucking figure out, seem to like me. And they enjoy talking to me. And I'm never as salty here as I am on the live streams to some of you sometimes. But oh my goodness, my last day off was in 2011. On Friday, I am taking a 3-day vacation, my first one in 2.5 years. But I assure you, the morning news is going to come out every single day. I'm just going somewhere else. Okay? Cat has the children. Little puppy Hope is gone. I can do this now. I'm feeling things at the moment. Forgive me. Bryant, much appreciated. Uh-oh. MJ Nelson throws drone. I bet that's supposed to say those drones were making a double helix. I did see that. And that was interesting. I mean, whether it's something that the field did or that many of them being able to impact the local fields because of how weak they are, it's the same story right there. Susie Rose Finley, that is nice, and thank you very much. And look who's right up next. Katie Light. Outstanding. Katie, when do we get to meet? Apologies for the earlier double up. Oh, goodness. No, I apologize that you got charged twice, and we greatly appreciate it. I'm going to admit something I probably shouldn't admit. I don't know how to refund one of those. I think there's supposed to be a way, but for those of you who watch the show, you know that like I just like figured out how to do this. I don't know. I promise I'll look into it. But Aussie with eyes open, just thank you so much for the support, really. There's Joe Peterson. What's up, Joe? How are you doing? It was great to see you. Not good. It was great to see you. It's always good to see you. It's interesting. He can flip me off and literally be talking shit to my face. And I have happiness in my heart when I'm looking at him. It's interesting. And it's not gay either. It's just Totally no homo. I just like the guy. Samurai, thank you for that teal pair. That was absolutely fantastic. We are coming back here now. I don't really think we have anything else to do today. In theory, I could just absolutely go off on that topic that I wanted to go off on the other day, the one that I said deserved its own special video about the fatigue, the attrition of knowing. A burden it is indeed. I think we'll probably have to do that one another time, but it is so important. Because as I mentioned, I catch myself in that all the time. Where it's like, I'll read a paper and like, yeah, okay, I can see it. This is going in the morning news. Obviously it needs to, but it doesn't hit me as confirmation. Okay, we're on the right track. It's more like, okay, more of the same. Every day I wake up hoping I'm going to read a paper, hoping I'm going to see some kind of a report that tells me I'm out of my fucking mind and that I've got all of this wrong and I don't have to worry about this. Just for the kick in the teeth, I go searching. Seriously, a world-class level of searching. Just for the kick in the teeth to not find anything but more confirmation of this catastrophe every day. Like, yep, here we go. And I'm lucky because I've got this show to do, all right? It's my job to give a shit, okay? But a lot of you guys, you get there and you're like, okay, well, like, even if I believe this is happening and I believe him, like, I can't just sit here and listen to like confirmation after confirmation. This could be 20 years away. What the hell am I supposed to do with myself? Who knows the answer? If you are so fatigued, that means you are so familiar with the evidence. If you're so familiar with the evidence, are you that prepared as well? Do you have your tribe? Do you have your survival network? How many years of food do you have for everyone in your family? What's your medical supplies like? What guns you got and how many bullets? What kind of bullets? What's your bug out plan? What's your bunker or protected habitat plan look like? How prepared are you? That's where suspiciousobservers.org or the menu bar up at the top of spaceweathernews.com comes into play. If you are suffering that fatigue where you're like, geez, I feel like I'm retarded and even I know what this paper means at this point. Like if that's you, okay, like are you that, yeah, man, like I'm totally prepared. I got everything set and ready to go. And if not, what you doing about it? Dear Ben, God created you so that he'd have someone to believe in. I believe in you too. Hugs from Kansas. Well, that was exceptionally nice. Thank you so much, Crystal. I do like hugs. I don't get enough hugs. Don't get enough hugs. I never have to be alone, and yet I am lonely all the time. Bush Ninja, another teal pair. Thank you very much. Aussie with eyes open says, just happy to support. That is literally super sweet. You know, we are going to do one more thing because I actually remember today. I actually remember this today. So here's what we're going to do. Look what I remembered to do today. Look what Daddy remembered to do today. Lengthen so we can see everybody's name. All right, so we've got Aussie with eyes open coming in first place. And this was a tight match today. Tim, Second, cross-threaded 13. Again, here is the closest I get to vacation on a regular basis, buddy. Bush Ninja after that, Susie, Joe Peterson. Then we got Brian, MJ Nelson, Joe Bob, and Crystal. Guys, this was really fun. I appreciate it. We will show this here to end. I mean, there's no better way to end it than this, really, is there? What is this? What did you post here? Anyway, guys, this was very fun. I will see you in the morning for the daily show. I hope this was informative. Was this informative?